Even the terminology, I think, trips people up right out of the gates, because most people, when they say, I want to do a webinar, what they are likely meaning is, I want to do a video presentation to lots of people. I think part of our job, even if we feel like this is not our lane, is to ask them a little bit about what's the size of the group and what kind of functionality are you looking for? What anonymity considerations are important for participants? And then you can say, oh, it sounds like actually you do want to do a Zoom meeting, but you'll have a lot of presentation time, or like, oh yeah, the platform of Zoom webinar is actually the right fit for you, and here's what you need to know. I usually describe myself as a participatory meeting designer, facilitator, tech host for online and hybrid sessions. Because I do have so much of my background is in facilitation, and particularly participatory group processes, is helping imagine how can we do these brilliant things that we can do in person. How can we do them on Zoom? Like, what are the ways that we can adapt the technology for these meaningful conversation spaces, and then also bring in all of these very cool online collaboration tools to help us do, some of what we do in the room with paper and pen and sticky notes and all of that, but being able to imagine how can we do it online. I love that part of my role. They are two totally different products, which is a little bit confusing because they sort of look the same. And I think the other confusing aspect of it, I made two fun little signs for us today: Zoom webinars, Zoom meetings, is a lot of people describe a webinar, but they're actually hosting it in a meeting. And so you'll see people say, like, join this webinar, but it's actually a Zoom meeting. Whereas Zoom webinar is actually a totally separate product or platform that Zoom offers. And as Heather was saying earlier, you can't assume that it's the same as Zoom meetings. It does have different functionality. Even the language is different. So let me give you just kind of like some high level description of the two, and then we'll get into some of the nuances. So Zoom meetings, the platform that we're in right now, they're intended or designed to be, more collaborative, where all participants can screen share. If that functionality is turned on, they can turn on their audio, their videos. They can see who else is in attendance, not just on the screen, but also the participants list. And it has more interactivity in terms of breakout rooms. There's a little asterisk with that, but just hold that in our mind at the moment. Whereas webinars, Zoom webinars, are more like a virtual, like, lecture hall or auditorium. They're ideal for, larger audiences, events that are more open to the public. The Zoom webinar licenses start at a capacity of 500 participants. So right out of the gates, they have the capacity to host way more people, because they don't have all that audio video. Basically, it's like more the main way that participants are participating is in listen and view only mode. So Zoom webinar participants don't join with their cameras, and everyone does not have their audio. They're muted. So I think of it, sort of your typical webinar usually has, one or a few people that will be speaking to an audience in more of like the one-to-many format. Big thanks for the chance to share some of what I've learned in the translation journey from Zoom meetings to Zoom webinars.